coming back to my channel. Today on Saltiness Isn't Bliss, I am making a baked brie. This is a first for me, so let's get to it, guys. We want to preheat our oven anywhere between 350 and 375, so I'm kind of right at 360. And we've got some great ingredients over here that we're going to just layer and piece together to kind of create our brie. So before we get to that, if you have a dish that can go in the oven that's this depth or deeper and has a lid, that would be ideal. I don't have a dish like that, so I've got two of these. I'm just going to get creative, place my brie and all my additional ingredients in there, and then just kind of use that other one as a topper. We do want to have this dish covered. If you don't have anything like that you can always just go with a pan. Round would be preferred, but whatever you have, and then just put some foil on top, because I did think about using that too. So just, use what you have, make it work. So we want to start with a pie crust. I have featured these before in my videos. This is the one that I like to use and work with. You get 2 rolls in here. We're just going to use one. Big tip that I've learned the hard way is to let this warm up and get to room temp or close to room temp. Give you a zoomed in view there, because the warmer and closer to room temp this is, the more pliable it is, the easier it will be to unroll and not have it cracking and doing all kinds of things that just aren't going to cooperate with the recipe. So you want to have that out. We want to have 1 apple. We are going to slice that up in just a bit. And then over here we've got some really tasty stuff. We got a jar of raspberry preserves. The great thing about this recipe, you don't have to stick with raspberries. So if that's not your thing or you don't have that in the house, any flavor will do. I've got some ground cinnamon here. A bowl of fresh raspberries. Again, if apple or raspberry is not your thing or you don't have it on hand, you can substitute any other fruit. And then in this bowl here, I've got some melted butter that we will brush on the top of our pie crust once we get to that point. And of course, the star of the show is our brie cheese that comes in a container like this. And the thing about this cheese is it does come with a rind on it. So what I recommend and what I've already done is take one of the large sides, cut that rind off. You can leave it everywhere else because the bottom that has the rind is going to go down in our pan. So just take that top layer off. I did let this warm up a bit on the counter, did not let it get room temp, but did let it warm a bit, and that seemed to help with ease of just getting that rind off in one solid piece. So we're going to set that directly on top of our pie crust. I keep wanting to say pie filling. This is not pie filling. Pie crust. We're going to set that right on top so it looks something like that. And now we're going to move on to our apple. So we want to turn it on its side, cut the bottom off. We really don't need the bottom. We really don't want to use that. And now we're just going to slice it. Want to cut those in half. So it should look something like this. Now if you want to pick the seeds out, feel free. I think I can get one more half right there. So just utilize as much of that apple as you can without using the stem or the very bottom of it. So yeah, I actually can get some more out of there. And we're mostly just using our apple as an additional flavor to our baked brie. Okay, so we've set our brie on top of our pie crust that has the rind removed from the top layer. Next up, we want to take our jar of raspberry preserves or whatever fruit you're using. We want to put the entire jar on top of our brie. So once we get the jar of preserves on our brie, we want to gently just kind of smooth and flatten that out as best we can, because of course it just wants to slide off of there. Next step is to take our butter that we have melted. This is unsalted butter that I melted. And we want to just brush that all around the edge of our pie crust to help it to seal up once we fold it in a moment. We want to gently fold this up, and we want to just do it slowly. There's no right or wrong way. So I just started with the right, folded that up, went to the top, folded that up. Now I'm going to go on the left side, fold that up. Now we've got the bottom here, and I'm going to just fold that up as best I can. So I actually do have a tiny bit of the preserves in the middle there. I'll show you in just a moment, kind of sticking out of the top. That's okay. And then as best you can, pinch that pie filling, excuse me, that pie crust. I don't know why I want to keep calling it pie filling. Pinch the edges, pinch the ends together to kind of hold it in place. So there's your little bird's eye view, guys. It should look something like that at this point. Okay, so you just saw the top view of that. Next step, we want to take the rest of that melted butter, and we want to just brush it all over the top. Just give it a nice shine. You can come down on the sides a bit as well. Just make sure you get the top really coated first, and then if you want to coat a little farther down, go for it. Because I've got plenty of butter here, and it is unsalted, so why not? There we go. So now we want to take whichever slice of our apple is our largest, so probably this one, and we're just going to lay that directly in the center on the top, so covering up all of that raspberry preserve that was kind of poking out of the middle there. Once I get this in the pan and get it all arranged, I will certainly show you guys, because of course you can only see so much from that angle. So we want to, because we've just put that layer of butter on top, melted butter, we want to sprinkle the top with some ground cinnamon. That will be to taste, and that butter will really help that to stick. Now we want to transfer this very carefully into our pan. Alright, so we've just transferred it into our pan, and now we're going to take whatever fruit you're using. I'm going with fresh raspberries and my apple slices, and we want to just fill that space around the edges of our brie. So no right or wrong way to do it, and this will, whatever amount you have handy, however much, however little bit of fruit, however many varieties of fruit you want to put in there, go for it. Make it your own. So I've got my apple in there, and now I'm going to take these fresh raspberries and just kind of pop them down in all the little open spaces. So wherever there's a gap in those apple slices, I am going to pop a little raspberry. So there is another bird's eye view of my brie, all prepared, ready to go in the oven. So next step, with whatever you have available, you want to cover it. And then we're going to slide it into the oven, and we want to bake it for at least 30 minutes. So I will see you then. Well guys, I kind of thought that this was going to stay together and stay in that nice presentation we had it in when we put it in the oven. But as you can see, it just kind of did its own thing and went everywhere. Although it doesn't look like it won't be tasty, it's just a lot messier and gooier than I anticipated, but hey, that's all right. That is okay. That happens when we cook and bake, and so, you know, we just work around it. So I'm gonna scoop some of this onto a plate. Probably don't need a plate this big, but I intended to scoop the whole thing onto this plate and then realized that's not happening. So there is what I've scooped. And then I've got these tasty little crackers that I plan to just kind of dip in there and get all the flavors onto my cracker to just kind of scoop up and enjoy the bite, I guess. So of course you can eat this with something other than crackers. Get creative, make it your own, use what you have in your cabinet, in your pantry. And so that is my first time making a brie. Perhaps the pie crust was where I went wrong. Maybe the temperature was where I went wrong. I'm not sure. Doesn't matter. Either way, it still looks delicious. It's still edible. It's still fun. And it's still a new recipe here on Saltiness Isn't Bliss. So thanks so much for watching. See you next time.